connecting you. This is Iowa's News Now at 10.
It would be bad enough to find out your neighbors were spying on you, but the government's not supposed to.
A new lawsuit accuses investigators of breaking the law to get their evidence in Iowa's sports betting investigation. Coming up in our in-depth coverage.
Well, we're starting tonight at 10 with an update to an armed robbery earlier this month in Cedar Rapids. The man accused of holding up a CR Bank and Trust location arrested today in New Orleans. CRPD identified Andrew Durr as their suspect in the case last week, about 2 weeks removed from the robbery on January 3rd. Investigators say Durr had a gun with him when he robbed the CRBT on Council Street back on January 3rd. Still no word exactly what he got away with, but once he's back in Iowa, there should be court filings, and we should learn more from there. We're also getting our first look tonight at the man accused of killing his wife in Waukon earlier this week. Brandon Casemeyer's mugshot is now there from Larimer County, Colorado. That's where he was arrested Tuesday. He's due back in court there next Friday, according to the jail roster. Casemeyer was taken into custody a day after Jamie Casemeyer was found dead in her home on First Avenue in Waukon. Police had been called there Monday for a welfare check. Since Casemeyer hasn't been booked into an Iowa jail yet, same situation as the armed robbery. We don't have any official filings yet, so we don't know any other details and probably won't until he's brought back to the state. There's a GoFundMe now set up for the family of Jennifer Daisy, who investigators say was killed by her son last week in Dubuque. The money will go towards Jennifer's 2 other children. The family dog was also found dead in Jennifer's house on Avoca Street on January 18th in Dubuque. Tyler Daisy is now held on $2 million bond to the Dubuque County Jail on charges of first-degree murder and animal abuse resulting in death. Well, for a third straight day, we are getting some new perspective on the Iowa DCI sports wagering probe and new reaction to the allegations this week from DCI agents that the investigation was built on an illegal search and that agents might have actually been misled in some cases into helping out with the investigation. We learned that first part on Monday when a lawyer representing former Iowa State football players filed a motion that alleged DCI agent Brian Sanger had put up a geofence to check phone data around an Iowa dorm without a warrant or any evidence, and then kept investigating when higher-ups had even told him to stop. Then on Tuesday, another filing from another lawyer representing an Iowa State wrestler stated that DCI agent Mark Ludwig said in a deposition that there were never warrants or evidence to start the investigation at any point. Ludwig also says he was assigned to interview a student-athlete at one point, but was told it wasn't part of the investigation. He then says after he interviewed that student-athlete, he was congratulated by DCI for, quote, obtaining a confession. Wednesday afternoon, we heard from Iowa men's wrestling head coach Tom Brands for the first time since all of this came out in court documents. Of course, there are a number of Hawkeye wrestlers suspended for the season right now because of the probe. Here's Brands today on his reaction to everything.
Basic liberties were infringed upon. Shouldn't happen in this country. It shouldn't happen in the state of Iowa. You want a big story now. Where was the urgency to find out the truth when this thing went down and it didn't make sense? That's what I would say to everybody in this room. Where was the urgency? Now it comes out, now you want reaction. And I'll just be a real patient guy and we'll see what comes of it. I know one thing, we got a lot of guys upstairs that are ready to go.
So you hear Brands asking about where the urgency was for answers and reaction before this week, so it is worth clarifying. None of this was probably going to come to light until those DCI agents were deposed under oath in a court of law, which didn't happen until last Friday. And that wouldn't have happened unless some of those student athletes kept fighting their charges to get to this point. So that is why we are where we are now. Iowa's News Now reporter Cedric Bolton III joining us in studio tonight with more reactions.
Yeah, Mitch, it's been an interesting week so far. Discussion on the DCI investigation hits the Capitol today, too. Polk County State Senator Janet Peterson says she's worried about how things went down in the investigation and whether Iowa should be looking over their shoulders, even in their homes.
I have deep concerns about our Iowans' right to privacy and deep concerns about DCI and how they were allowed to geofence our dormitories on state campuses and how that investigation went down.
Senator Dan Dawson of Pottawatomie County countered State Senator Peterson's points right after. He's actually a DCI agent himself. He argues that while people can be worried about privacy, that geofencing without a warrant is fine in this case.
Geofencing you need a search warrant for in generic terms. Gaming law is entirely different here in this state. Gaming is a vice like alcohol, like tobacco, and with those vices, we have special regulatory authority here in the state.
DCI officials told us on Tuesday that they can't comment on any of this because it's still an active case. Sarah Riley with the Tom Riley Law Firm joined us on Iowa's News Now at noon to talk about everything. She says this is a big deal and Iowans should be able to trust their government to not spy on them.
Iowans have a right to know why this whole investigation started, who all knew about it. But we have a right to know because you needed a warrant for this. No warrant was obtained either when they did that with the dorm or when they did it with the University Athletic Facility, and that shouldn't happen.
Riley also says she thinks any open cases against Iowa or Iowa State student athletes in the probe are going to be thrown out at some point in the aftermath of all this. That's a lot like what we heard from Iowa State wrestling coach Kevin Dresser on Tuesday. Dresser told media members that he hopes all of these athletes at Iowa and Iowa State take the state of Iowa to the cleaners. In studio, Cedric Bolton III, Iowa's News Now.
Thank you, Cedric. Moving now to our weather first forecast this Wednesday. It is foggy out there and certainly causing visibility issues, especially now that the sun's down, but just the latest price to pay with these warmer temperatures, I suppose. A lot of melting out there, too.
Yeah, I mean, this has kind of been the trend over the past couple of days. We've had a little bit of rain, maybe a little bit of mix of rain and snow, and then just a lot of fog that we're dealing with. So damp conditions, foggy conditions as we go throughout tonight, and that's going to kind of continue into tomorrow as well. But we do have some dense fog advisories out right now for most of eastern Iowa. That's because of the reduction in visibility. That's a live look right now over Interstate 380. It's 33 degrees here in Cedar Rapids. Winds generally calm outside. We're below a mile of visibility right now here in Cedar Rapids as well as Dubuque, and down in Washington, reduced visibility up in Iowa City there. Owine and Decorah seeing some reduced visibility, but at least a little bit better conditions there. We're keeping our eye on what's going on to our south and west. You can see some showers moving into southern Iowa there. That will be the case as we go a little bit later on tonight. Those showers will be moving in, and then we'll see widespread rain as we go throughout the afternoon hours tomorrow, with temperatures reaching back into those middle 30s. Now, after Thursday, we should be drying out a little bit. Temperatures will continue to stay mild, but a big time warm up is expected. We'll talk more about when we can see that coming up here in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Casey. Well, students at Perry Elementary School go back to class today, 20 days after the high school principal and a middle schooler were shot and eventually killed in a shooting inside the high school. 11-year-old Amir Joliffe and Principal Dan Marburger were the two victims that died out of the 9 total shot on January 4th by Dylan Butler, a senior at Perry. DCI is still investigating the shooting. A community fund is collecting money for families now. Certainly you can imagine the number of 911 calls that day in Perry. Law enforcement in the Des Moines area say they're getting more calls than they have in years lately, and they really don't have enough dispatchers to properly handle everything. Supervisors say they're in a situation that is just not sustainable.
The people that are working in our center, they're overworked, they're tired, they're working overtime, they're taking on extra duties to make sure that the needs of the city are filled.
Dispatch centers in Des Moines took almost 500,000 calls last year. That's the most they've seen in the last decade. If you know somebody that would like to be a dispatcher in that area, the city's website has applications posted until February 15th.
My ultimate responsibility here is to protect this building, to make sure that everybody who comes in is safe here.
A Northwest Iowa school is now arming some of their staff just in case of a worst case scenario. We'll follow the decision after the break. A private school in Northwest Iowa just started having some members of their staff carry guns just in case of a life-threatening situation. Katie Koppel is following the decision tonight.
About 18 months ago, we just started looking at options. And obviously, to take the step to have armed staff in our school is a big one. And it requires a lot of conversation with a lot of stakeholders.
It's a big step in school security.
My ultimate responsibility here is to protect this building, to make sure that everybody who comes in is safe here. And I simply couldn't live with myself if I knew there were options, there were things that were available to us, and we didn't take use of them.
Superintendent Dr. Lindsay Laurich says improving safety and security at Siouxland Christian School is paramount for the administration.
We think about continuous improvement in terms of learning, in terms of, curriculum, in terms of our staff. Safety goes into that bucket.
The administration here at Siouxland Christian Schools say they did not take this step lightly. A lot of research, a lot of conversation, and a lot of praying went into whether this decision was right for them.
In a worst case situation, the action that's required is going to be incredibly challenging, but it has to be done to protect all of the other students and staff in the building.
Dr. Laurich says those who were selected volunteered to do so and were carefully vetted and trained. While the school won't state how many staff are armed on campus or who they are, she says those individuals are prepared to step in should a life-threatening incident occur on school grounds.
It's something we hope we never have to utilize, that is just quietly in the background here at our school. It is there in the worst of the worst possible scenarios. But if that ever does happen, then we're ready to respond, and we can do so in seconds.
Well, right now we're still continuing to stay dry here in eastern Iowa. Got some rain showers, though, forming across southern Iowa now. That'll be moving its way to the north and east. We're expecting scattered showers tomorrow morning, but a little bit more widespread rain as we head towards the afternoon. We'll talk about how much we could see around here coming up after the break.
A bill at the Statehouse we told you about earlier this month trying to make swatting calls a felony in Iowa is through committee now. This bill is trying to change the fact that swatting calls are just a misdemeanor in Iowa right now. The new bill is eligible now for debate on the House floor. Iowa Public Safety reports 39 swatting calls last school year. The year before that, there were just 4 across the state. Head to iowasnewsnow.com for our full report on the proposal from earlier in January. We are into a third week now of the legislative session in Des Moines. Tons of bills, of course, moving around. Quite a few connected to schools and education. Iowa's News Now Statehouse reporter Skylar Tallal is getting a closer look tonight.
A packed room for a Senate subcommittee evaluating a new proposal to let schools hire chaplains for support on campus. The issue drawing in differing opinions, with supporters wanting spiritual guidance available for staff and students.
But having that person there to maybe just sit down and talk to the person next to you and just ask them some questions and just being there for that person. We would just like to help our children, help our teachers who are really struggling right now.
Under the bill, employed chaplains wouldn't get paid, wouldn't have to be licensed by the Board of Educational Examiners, and school districts couldn't require or coerce students to use their services. Opponents say school's no place for the church, pointing out chaplains of any religion would be accepted.
You don't get to pick and choose which religions you would like to have chaplains in the school. I know a lot of folks were real upset that the Satanic Temple got to have a display here in the Capitol over the holiday season, right? Well, guess who has a very robust chaplain program? The Satanic Temple does.
And while the bill is advancing, the GOP chair says he does share some of the concerns raised by Democrats. House lawmakers are also taking a look at an education bill, one that would require students and teachers to sing the national anthem each day. In the subcommittee Wednesday, Democrat State Rep Sue Cahill starts her comments off, asking everyone to respectfully stand up and sing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see? By the dawn's early light.
The bill aims to increase student patriotism by teaching them to love and honor the national anthem and its history. Rep. Cahill sharing her own love of country, but says it's not something that should be forced on kids.
The school classroom is not the place for mandating the singing of the national anthem, thus mandating patriotism for students. I think that's something students choose.
Students and teachers could opt out of singing, but the bill requires them to stand if they can.
I, too, as a retired military guy, I support patriotism and anything we can do to advance that.
At the Iowa Capitol, Skylar Tallal reporting.
A lot of fog here in eastern Iowa tonight, given, of course, the melting snow that we've seen today. This is really going to continue at least towards the end of the week as well. At least temperatures pretty mild this evening. A live look down in Iowa City right now. It is currently 34 degrees, just a light breeze out of the west between about 5 and 10 miles an hour. And it was nice and quiet, mild today as well. Temperatures rising above the freezing mark once again. 37 this afternoon in Dubuque, 36 Old Wine and New Hampton, 38 in Waterloo, and we hit 35 degrees here in Cedar Rapids. And it's really been a trend over the past couple of days. Temperatures running a couple of degrees above normal. Started on Monday, of course, and it's a far cry from what we saw towards the end of last week with single-digit high temperatures Friday into Saturday. And of course, those warmer temperatures contributing to melting of the snowpack that we've seen around here. This is the current snow depth that we are seeing, about a foot here in Cedar Rapids. That's significantly lower than, of course, what we saw at this time last week. 14 inches up in Dubuque, a little bit less in Decorah, where you saw a little bit less snow, 9 inches in terms of that snow depth for right now. We're tracking in dry conditions for right now, but notice just off to our south and west, we are looking at some scattered showers moving into southern Iowa here. That will be the case as we go a little bit later on into tonight, and we'll see some scattered showers throughout Thursday morning as well. Given where temperatures are going to be, most of us will likely be above freezing, so not quite the concern as what we've had the last couple of nights with us seeing a little bit of freezing rain. By Thursday afternoon and evening, more widespread showers are expected there. That'll be pushing through the area throughout the evening, and that's potentially where we could see at least maybe a little bit of a changeover to a bit of a rain-snow mix, mainly for areas north of Highway 20 there as some of those cooler temperatures sit in. We're not looking at really a whole lot of accumulating snow out of this. Most of this activity is actually out of here by Friday morning. We'll be dealing with cloud cover for the end of the week. Temperatures, though, going to be mild. They'll continue to stay into those middle 30s. So in terms of how much rainfall we could see, right now we're kind of looking at maybe a 1/4 of an inch up to a 1/2 an inch, with heavier amounts the closer you get to the Mississippi River there. Now, it's not a whole lot of rain, but given the fact temperatures will remain warm, we're just adding that on top of a very heavy and wet snowpack right now. So make sure you've got those culverts kind of clean out, and so we can get that water to be draining in the appropriate areas. Things should be pretty quiet this weekend. However, we are watching a system that right now is trending to track further to our south. So not really too worried about it, but we'll have to watch it the next couple of days. If this system maybe takes a little bit more of a northerly track here, that could put some of our southern hometowns in the path of maybe seeing a little bit of rain. But we've got the forecast dry for right now under a mostly cloudy sky Saturday into Sunday. Temperatures slightly cooler on Monday there. We'll see a little bit more sunshine, but those partly sunny skies going to contribute to some warmer temperatures heading towards Wednesday. We could see highs back near 40 degrees.
The Hawkeyes nearly lead wire to wire against Maryland. Can Iowa bounce back after losing to Purdue over the weekend? First game this season for Iowa, where it's decided by fewer than 8 points. We've got highlights next on Iowa's News Now.
This is Iowa's News Now Sports with Owen Sebring.
Rock solid since losing 3 in a row back in December. The Hawkeyes have once again become a relevant entity in the Big Ten. In spite of their loss to Purdue over the weekend, the Hawkeyes are just 2 games back of second place in the conference. First of 2 meetings tonight against Maryland. My Maryland, thou wilt not cower in the dust. First half, Tony Perkins coming to play. 9 points in the first 12 minutes. Finishes the and one. Tony goes for 20 tonight. Late in the half, DeSante Bowen down low to Owen Freeman. Free bird. Throw down for the O down. 14 points, 9 rebounds for Owen, who fouled out late. I was 0 for 7 on 3-pointers in the first half. Their first long-distance find comes off the hand of Josh Dix in the corner in the second half. Iowa leads nearly the entire game, but with 40 seconds left, Iowa's up 1. Jameer Young drills a 3, puts the Terps up 2. Perkins, 11 for 11 on free throws, ties the game at 67. I was hoping for overtime because Maryland's got the ball last. Young driving, skates past Sanford and hits the layup. 8 points in the final 84 seconds. Maryland with a gut punch to Iowa's postseason resume. The Hawkeyes don't make a field goal over the final 5 minutes and 44 seconds. Lots to clean up as they head to Michigan this Saturday. Chance for the Cyclone men to move up in the Big 12 standings. K-State tied for first in the conference. Cyclones with a narrow 2-point lead in the second half, but they just did the juicy wiggle, so the lots may change soon. This will give Iowa State a 12-0 record at Hilton if they win tonight. Iowa State women on the road, they've now lost each of their last 2 games that actually got played. Gifted a Big 12 win on Saturday after the TCU forfeit. Their 2-star freshmen, Audie Crooks and Addie Brown, with another couple strong performances. Cyclones dropped to 3rd in the Big 12. Killer matchup in the ARC. Loras has won 13 in a row since losing to Co in November. That was their only loss of the season. Cohawks in the top 25 for the first time in program history. Midway through the first half, Niles, how about a glass of sherry? Bennett Sherry hitting one from the top of the key. From Sherry to Barry, Miles Barry, the Duhawk senior, going to work in the post. Cohawks seeing red as Loris is hanging on to a lead. Duhawks, Cohawks, neither is a real bird, but TJ Schnurr is all too real. Scored in double figures every game this season, 18 tonight. Loris punching back. Jackson Molsted's shot is true. The Charles City product from a long line of basketball players giving Loris a 41-40 lead at the half. Co does it again, though, an 11-point win on the road. They've given Loris their only 2 losses this season. Co now controls their fate in the race for an ARC conference title. Clark women on the NAIA title defense, 18 wins and 1 loss since losing to Iowa in an exhibition. 4th-ranked Pride at home against Graceland. Pride are down 1 in the second, but Maya Mershman makes mush out of the deficit. 23-point night for the Mersh hair. 12 3-pointers on the night for Clark. Nicole McDermott's aim is true from the corner. 31 points, 10 boards for the Pride of Cascade. Clark goes on a 9-0 run to start the second, held a double-digit lead for most of the second half. 9-point win. Pride are first in the conference. 18-1 overall this season. We carry on now with our top 10 plays of 2023, all captured by the cameras of the Iowa's News Now crew. Even Mitch Fick helping out with number 6 on the countdown. Travel with us, if you will, back to September 30th, Iowa and Michigan State. Game tied at 16, 4 minutes left. It's time for a Cooper hero. Cooper DeJean snaps off his only punt return in the punt return touchdown of the season. 70 yards to the end zone. Kinnick Stadium absolutely shaking after that score. Some say it's the loudest they've ever heard Kinnick. Iowa won that game 26-16. DeJean's game-changing punt return, our number 6 play of the year. At number 5, we go back to June 1st, last summer, 1A state soccer semis. GCGR has a 2-1 lead over Des Moines Christian with time winding down in the last minute of regulation. Des Moines Christian pulls its goalie to come play on offense. The strategy works basically 0% of the time, but junior keeper Tate Platt rips off the equalizer from way outside the box, sends his team into a frenzy, sends the game to overtime. Grundy center Glabrick Rhinebeck ended up winning in a shootout, but that play was number 1 on SportsCenter that night, and it's our number 5 play of the year. That's it for Sports Tonight. Casey's going to be right back with a final look at your weather.
Recapping that forecast for you here now. Fog will continue throughout tonight with scattered rain showers Thursday morning. We'll see a little bit more widespread rain by the afternoon. Not too worried about freezing rain. Maybe a little bit of a changeover to some snow north of Highway 20. That's really going to be it. Shouldn't be any issues on the roadways. Cloudy skies Friday and then throughout the weekend. Temperatures will be a little bit cooler there Monday, but we're trending a lot warmer next week, up near 40 by Wednesday. By the end of the week, we'll likely be back into the 50s for the first time since Christmas, more than likely.
We can't stop talking about this goalie goal from the state tournament. There's number 5 on the top plays at 23. We've never seen that before.
Yeah, I hardly even see teams try it. I mean, only a state tournament in the most desperate situations, but that was a wild one. Didn't end up winning, but
last game of the year, can't hold anything back.